Good morning. Good morning. My name is Shilly Boy. Let me start with introducing myself. My name is Shilly Boy. I'm the founder of Tax Edu ZA. And you are brought here because of our sessions. And it gives me a great pleasure that to inform you that we will be having these sessions on a monthly basis. In fact, if possible, we'll be having them maybe twice in a month or so, depending on the availability of our colleagues in the industry. So we're going to be having these sessions on a monthly basis, maybe to be on a safe side. You're more than welcome to join and participate. The sessions are going to be free. Um, just to give you a heads up on how the property sector works, the topics will vary. And each month will be different topics. I saw later on this month, we're going to be talking about student accommodations. We could be talking about finance. We could be talking about concept designs for property investing. Could be talking about township property investing. And we could, for that matter, talking about multi-let, Airbnb. Those will be some of the topics that we'll potentially be covering. Maybe even talking about those who are doing property management, how to go about doing a property management, evictions, lease agreements, the vetting of the tenants. Those are some of the things that we will be educating ourselves in the next 12 months, if possible, right? Only God willingly. But I felt that, it's ideal. What can we start with in an ideal world? What can we start and kickstart the year with if we were to run these sessions? Why not start with what we are comfortable with at the main internally as Tax Edu ZA and our partners, which is structuring and tax planning that we'll typically be doing. And then I felt that most of you guys, when you kickstart this property investing journey, you're always wondering, what should I be using? Should I be using trust, or should I be using a company, or for that matter, should I be using my personal name? And that's exactly what we're going to be answering today. But of course, once you have answered that, how are you going to go investing going forward? Then you will start asking yourself, what type of property should I be investing in? That's exactly why we're going to bring you student accommodation. We're going to bring you multi-let for those who want to invest in township. We're going to talk about township, but within that also we're going to be asking ourselves, how do you even source those property investing opportunities? How do you even run the numbers once you find those opportunities? How do you negotiate? What to be aware of when it comes to offer to purchase? How do I raise money, be it the banks, family members, or other ecosystem like ourselves, where we've got ecosystem where you can raise money through and then you invest in property. That's exactly how we are visioning or envisioning the programs in the next 12 months. Hence, we are starting with this concept to say, how do I go about investing? How do I go about investing? Thank you so much for joining me. It's the 6th of January, 2024. Welcome to the new year. And thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a very early in the year and you're already starting with your career. I'm saying congratulations for you to actually have been availing yourself to this. So I'm going to share a presentation. We're going to run through a presentation very quickly to give you a heads up and answer that very important question, because that question is broad, and that you'll notice that that question is very, very dependent on each person's circumstances, because we all go into property investing for various reasons. Some people go in because they want to supplement the income that they're earning in 9 to 5, which is fine. Other people, they want to actually take a career in property investing, and that's another amazing reason. Other people invest because they've got other dependents that alone with salary they cannot carry and be able to maintain. It could be your parents, it could be your in-laws, it could be your grandparents that you want to look after. And that for you, once you establish why you're going into property investing for, that has a way of influencing which structure you're going to be investing, because how you're going to distribute money matters also. When you're making money, say for instance, you are investing in your personal name and you are one of those people who are a high income earner, you're sitting at 40% marginal tax rate. would you agree with me when you start generating this rental income in your name, that will mean that any additional taxable income from that rental incomes, you'll potentially be taxed at the higher tax rate because you're already sitting at the higher tax rate. For that, meaning that if you are one of those people who don't necessarily need this money, but you're just building up retirement safety net of some sort, it might not be ideal for you to actually be investing in your personal name because that is not your primary source of income. You're already set, and because you are high income earner, of course. And then those who might even say, listen, I want to earn this income because I'm not really generating any form of income. What should I be doing, Shile Boy? And then need to say, listen, maybe the first few properties you can do it in your name because you don't necessarily have anything in your name, right? And that means that you'll be taxed on these scale rate of maybe from 18% to about 45%. Can you see that if you are still generating money that is taxed at 80%, it's much cheaper than trading in your name from tax point of view as compared to having to trade in the company. But then those things have got their own disadvantages and advantages. That's why there's never right or wrong answer. It all depends on your personal circumstances. Exactly that. So I'm going to run through the presentation that I prepared for you, and quickly so. Then after that, we then going to take questions and engage. I see that it's 20 past, so we should be done at the latest 11 o'clock. Yes, because we started like 50 minutes late due to technicalities. So as soon as we are done, and then I need to run this maybe 20 minutes and then give you guys a chance to ask questions. Okay. So welcome. As I mentioned, my name is Shiliboy Mutiba. We'll be talking about investment structures and tax. Why is this important? It's important fundamental because you guys, when you're going to go on this journey of being a property investor, and I'm assuming that I'm speaking to first-time property investors, it's very, very important to ask yourself questions. How would I be investing in the property sector? Would I be investing in my name or company or partnership or a trust? That is the question that you need to answer yourself before you even go out there, because you don't want a situation where you go out there also you're funding a property and then cheeky, you're one of those people who buy properties in your names, you start reaching affordability, you start coming to Shiliboy, I bought in my name, how do I move this property out, or I don't want, I'm one of those people who are taxed at a higher rate, what should I be doing? You're overwhelmed, and you end up actually being discouraged to even go further in terms of this property. And we don't want you there. That's why we're going to give you all these basics in the next 12 months. Okay. Now, let's go on. In most cases, guys, you will typically find, of course, this list is not exhaustive. You'll typically find yourself playing around all these type of structures. You could find yourself, if you're one of those, as you go, start raising money in a more advanced way, you'll find yourself trading using partnerships. We're not going to dwell into this because it gets more complicated for those who trade using partnerships. And then, of course, then typically you are exposed to companies. Most people, when they start investing, they always think company. And that's typically how other people do it. For those who don't necessarily think deep about structures, they typically default to in their name, which is natural person, right? That is typically what some people, sorry. Okay, there we go. It's sharing again. This technology have got a way of getting better of us. Okay, there we go. Now, as I was saying that typically for those people who don't necessarily think much about how they're going to invest in property, they typically default to investing in the name. They get a job and then they get excited and they say, listen, I want to have a property. Immediately they go to a bank. They don't even use bond originators because they don't even know who bond originators are. And we're going to touch on that sometime during the year. And then from there, what they do, and then they just go to the bank approves them, they bought a property, they don't even understand the assessment of the property, they get, somehow persuaded, and then they end up buying properties even more than the value of those property because they don't even know how to run numbers, they don't know how to assess the value of the property, and then they end up buying in their personal names. And we're going to teach you how to go about assessing the values of the properties and things like that as time goes on in the year. Okay. Some people then, once they mastered the game, they start thinking about trust. They listen to Shilly Boy and his teams, and they started to think about the next generational wealth and things like that. And that's how some people end up thinking of trust and things like that. That is typical how people actually start thinking. And then, of course, then people, when they start being more advanced, they start to thinking, how do I raise money? This is where you see people starting to form things like stokvels. Others, they start to, using foundations, funds, SPVs. They start to be more technical. But I don't want you to be overwhelmed with these technicalities. I just want you to play around these three items, which is natural person, company, and a trust. I think that's where you'll typically be playing because I believe that most of you guys are going to start investing in these properties using your credit affordabilities or even friends and colleagues around you. Not necessarily you going to raise money out there because you don't have experience yet when it comes to property investing. Okay, now let's go into this thing, or animal called trust. Now, let's say you're one of those who start to think, listen, I want to create this wealth, but equally so, I want to ensure that the wealth that I'm creating is actually going to be passed on to the next generation. That the structure that is allowing us to do that in South Africa, that allows us to enjoy the benefits of the properties, rewards that we want to be getting, the rentals, the growth, all those things without owning those assets. It's a trust. Why I'm saying this, you'll see how the formulation comes in. Now, the formulation is that you, as the property investor, you can decide and say, listen, you can decide and say, I want to go into this property investing journey. And wanting to go into this property investing journey, I don't want to be the one owning these assets in my name for whatever reason. It could be the reason that you're working those high risk profession. You want to make sure that should you be sued, everything is not in your name, and therefore, and also you want to ensure that when you pass this on, this wealth can be passed on to the next generation without any form of interruptions. That is typically how other people do and use trust. Okay, now, whoever starts this animal called trust, we call them a founder. That's who we are, right? And then within a founder, once a founder is there, let's see. Okay, exactly what I was saying. So once you form a trust, let's say we call it a family trust, property trust, it doesn't matter. Those are just terminologies on how people classify those trusts. A trust is a trust. Now, exactly what I said, a trust allows you to enjoy what is in the trust, be it those properties that you're going to be buying, whether you're going to buy them in a trust or you're going to buy them in a company that is owned by a trust, but you're still going to enjoy the benefits in that trust without you being the owner of the trust. No one owns a trust. No one owns a trust. The people that enjoys these benefits are what you call beneficiaries. And it could be you and your rest of your family, your spouse, your kids, or whoever else you want them to benefit in a trust. Some people put their parents, and for reasons be known to them, mainly because maybe they're looking after their kids. Now, the people that are legally so obligated or bestowed with responsibilities to manage a trust are called trustees. Okay? Who can be a trustee? There are anyone who's not disqualified by according to the law of Trust Property Control Act can be a trustee, as long as they're also obviously within the requirements of that particular act. Those people are known to have ownership and control. It's a very funny technical thing. Don't think too much into it. They own the assets, but they can't enjoy their assets. That's a very funny legal jargons out there, where you own and control the assets of the trust, mainly because in South African tax, in South African legal system, a trust doesn't have what you call legal persona. It does not exist on its own. That's why even when you sue a trust, you have to sue the trustees, not the trust itself. This is a very funny legal thing, which helps you, by the way, to actually enjoy the protection and enjoy the benefits of the trust. For those who are starting out, it might confuse you, but it's exactly that. So whoever is going to benefit from the trust, which means that you can even put Shilibo a trustee of this particular trust, but doesn't necessarily mean that Shilibo is going to enjoy the benefits of the trust. No, I'll only enjoy if you make me a beneficiary of that particular trust. By being a trustee doesn't mean I'm automatically a beneficiary of. Those are two different things. A person who's going to enjoy the benefits of the trust is beneficiary. The person who's going to control and own and control and administer this trust is the trustee. Get it that right, okay? And a founder, whoever starts this trust, does not necessarily mean that they have to be a trustee, or does not necessarily mean that they have to be a beneficiary. It could be, again, parents starting this trust for the benefit of your grandkids. Some people do that. Say, listen, I don't want my grandkids to suffer. Therefore, I'm creating this trust and I'm going to transfer this wealth that I have for my grandkids for the next generation so that they can start in a more advantageous foundation. That's exactly how some people transfer wealth from one generation to the next generation. So it's just the founder, is just someone who started a trust, has no privileges whatsoever, okay? So, and whoever gets nominated to be a beneficiary is the one who's going to enjoy these economic benefits that gets generated within the trust. I think we're clear on that. Okay. Now, then let's move into the next thing. So one of the things that comes with a trust, and which is brilliant, it's one of the common law principles that is still there, and it's one of those principles that is so beneficial. It's what you call conjoint part principle. What is this thing? So now, let's assume this trust here. Let's call it an SPV trust. You don't have to know what is SPV. Let's say it's an SPV trust. It owns these three properties. Assume these are three properties. And it generates rental income, right? Say you're making 20,000 rand or 60,000 rand a month, you know, or let's work a simple number, 10,000, 120,000 in a year. And because you don't want, or you are commercial reasons for forming this trust is to look after these little ones, family, you know, extramural activities, or for that matter, they're going to these expensive schools. So what this principle allows you, it allows the trustees to distribute whatever the income is sitting here to these children, and then the children are the ones going to be responsible for paying tax. That's exactly what it does. It allows these trustees, remember who controls and run the trust? It's the trustees. So the decisions are made by the trustees, not the beneficiaries. Then that rental income that could be sitting here in the trust, the trustees can decide in consultations, obviously, among themselves. They need to take decisions together, and they need to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries. So if the beneficiaries, they need money to survive, school fees and things like that, having been guided by your founding principle to say why you form the trust, then they can distribute it. These kids are the ones who's going to be liable for tax. Would you agree with me that if these kids don't earn any other form of income and potentially only getting these, let's say 50,000 a year, which is sufficient for them to pay school fees, would you agree with me that that 50,000 is potentially below a tax-free threshold, which is one of the benefits of this conjoint parent? It works in that wonders. And then these kids can either pay school fees, or for that matter, they can do invest in tax-free investment. Can you see that's how you even pass on wealth to the next generation, by the way? You can easily, from property investing, you can end up distributing this money in such a way that your kids actually start to kickstart their future. That's exactly how it works. Of course, if your kids are also over 18 years old, they can start thinking about things like life policies. They can start thinking about retirement annuity funds, or for that matter, they can start paying their own medical aids. Those are privileges that when kids have got money, they can do whatever they want to do with that particular money. But the beauty is that they would have got money that is not taxed because of their tax position. Imagine if this income here was sitting in your personal name and you're already earning income. Let's say you buy these properties in your name, you're already generating income salaries from your 9 to 5. Would you agree with me that it will work against you, because it means you are the ones who have to pay tax before you can even distribute this money to the children, right? And you can find yourself in a situation where if that money cannot be considered a maintenance amount, you could find yourself having to pay a donation, because it could be considered that, no, man, the amount that you're distributing on a regular basis to the children, it doesn't really constitute maintenance. It's actually extraordinary. Therefore, you should be subject to donation tax. But it can get that complicated. But if you were to just say, listen, I'm already high income earner, I don't want to find myself in a situation. Also, I'm also teaching my kids financial literacy. I therefore just want to invest maybe 5 properties. I'm not interested in anything else. Therefore, this money that I'm investing for is just to look after these kids, or for that matter, is to look after my grandparents or my parents that are no longer working. Therefore, they don't have any other source of income. You can actually use this, and then from there, these people are the ones who are going to be paying tax, and of course the tax brackets and the tax positions is actually lower, and then they can move on with their life in a more tax optimized position as possible. Okay, now that is, I remember we said we're going to speak about trust, company, and you trading in your personal name. One of the things that I always tell people is this: when you're investing in property, let's say you are now kickstarting and you might not be working. Let's talk about someone who's not working, but they've got time to go and look for properties. Or someone who's working but don't have credit profile, a good credit score, and they can't wait for a period to improve their credit score, because that credit score improvement can take long, right? Can take you even 2 years if your situation was worse. What other people then tends to do, let's say this is a company. Assume this is a company. I know it doesn't really look like a company. Let's assume this is a company that you want to form. Instead of you being the director, because you don't have credit profile, you cannot be a director, because if you are a director and you want to go and raise money from the bank, and you don't have a credit score, this company is not going to be able to raise money, because they're going to assess the credit affordability of a director. If you're a director, you're already exhausted when it comes to affordability. You're not going to be able to raise capital. Therefore, it's not ideal in that situation. Would you agree with me? Now, you can be a founder. You just started a company, and then you can own shares. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you get another person who doesn't have time, or he did not attend Chili Boys and team sessions, is not equipped in terms of property investing, and therefore they are busy 9 to 5, or they even work long hours, but they've got affordability. You can make that person director, because the bank is going to look at that person and say, listen, you've got a good credit profile, you are clean, you've got disposable income, and then they partner with you. That many of my clients, many of my mentees done this, they are doing it, they're making money through this program. Exactly strategy, they're doing that. Okay. Then what happens is that The compliance, obviously, you're going to have to meet the compliance. They're going to need solvency letters. They're going to need a registration, share certificate. The person that you're making a director here has to own something in this company, of course. I mean, no one is going to sit there as a director and not own any shares in this company. It's not ideal. And that's how you're going to grow, guys. You're going to grow with using other people's money. So understand that and leverage this method. Okay. Then you can... Obviously, here you are pleading with that person whose affordability. You are making a presentation to say, listen, I've been under mentorship of Shilly Boy. We've learned about investment. I've run numbers. I picked one area that I'm going to zoom into it. I understand this area very well. I'm looking at this, raising this capital. I'm only focusing on multi-let, or I'm only focusing on Airbnb, or I'm only focusing on student accommodation. Therefore, here are the numbers. Here's the opportunity that I found. Would you like to partner with me? I can't be a director because I don't have a good credit profile, but I'm bringing expertise of knowing how to make this investment actually work. Therefore, would you keen? Of course, those people, because they know you, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your colleague, maybe it's your family members, or you know each other, or it's a church member. You can do that. They know you. So they're going to invest over and above investing because the deal makes sense. They're probably going to invest because they like your character. They know you, your integrity and everything else, your honesty and, your diligence, your work ethic. They know those things. So people are most likely going to support you. That's how people raise money. We have done it. We're still doing it, and we're going to do it tomorrow. So these are some of the things that you can actually take advantage of. Then once that person agrees, then they become a director, and then obviously then you buy the property in this company, and then you become a shareholder, they become a shareholder, you guys, boom. Or for that matter, instead of you, because you've got a strategy, you know that you don't want things in your name, you don't even want shares of this company in your name, you can then make the trust the owner of your portion of shares, because you've listened to Shilly Boy to say, listen, it's not sometimes ideal to be owning these things in your name. Just avoid them. Have a trust that is owned. You've got a long-term vision yourself. You know that the dividends that will be declared by this company will just go to the trust. From the trust, get distributed to the children. That's what you are planning. You've got a vision, long-term vision. So you can exactly do that from the onset. Then that person obviously then becomes a director. Boom, you guys go and apply. Then that person stands for surety, as what you call surety. They're going to request suretyship. The bank is going to require that. That person will sign and say, I stand. And it's a safer one in a sense that the first point of call whenever there's any form of defaults here on bond repayments, the bank are going to repossess the property. They're going to foreclose the property. So that person, really, the risks are just quite minimal. And especially if you bought a property way below market value, let's say a property worth R1 million, and you negotiated very well in such a way that you're buying that property for 800,000 or 700,000. Can you see that there's a room there? Even if there is banks were to sell this property on the market, they're potentially going to actually recover their property. So that person risk, if we're being honest, are actually minimal. Exactly. And that's one of the things that you're going to justify why you should have more shares also in this company over and above you coming to come and run this company, because you have got experience in terms of you've attended sessions, you're under the coaching of Shilly Boy and his team of experts. We can even help you with the presentation to this particular person, to justify why that deal. I mean, if you want us to support you on that, and then you're good to go. So your structure then is like what? You owning the trust, the vision, you understand the vision, the trust owns the shares of this company, you are the beneficiary of the trust, and then boom, that any dividends that comes in here, they go to the trust, then you're enjoying your life from there. Okay, now let's look at a scenario where someone has bought multiple, let's say maybe 3, 4, 5 properties in a personal. One of the main reason I personally don't like investing in my personal name, first of all, is that we all know that all of us are going to die one way or another, right? One thing that is certain in this world is death and taxes. So, which means that you and I are going to die at some point. One of the reasons I don't like is What happens when I die? I don't like the taxes that kicks in when I passes on. Potentially, you can pay things like what you call estate duty. You can potentially pay things like capital gain tax. You're going to pay lawyers to transfer properties out of your name. You're going to pay that person who's an executor who's going to have to wind up your estate and transfer properties out of your name to whoever your beneficiaries are, right? If the properties are still bonded, you're gonna have to pay bond cancellation. That's this admin here. You see this admin that comes with this page. I don't like it personally. That's one of the reasons why I don't like trading in my name. Of course, other people say, listen, Shilubo, I don't care. I want to have a sense of ego to say I own five. You know, there's ego issues out there also. And some people's sense of ownership, it matters most than this admin. I don't like admin. So then the person who's more inclined towards admin wouldn't mind actually having this type of trading in their name at the beginning as the first-time property investors. That's exactly what other people do. But then just be mindful of these potential costs that will come with this what do you call with this trading in a name. So you could pay extra duty. Exactly here, we made an example of someone who have built a portfolio of 10 million. 10 million, guys, in property is nothing because you can even buy like 3 properties to 4 properties. Already you're reaching 10 million mark because most of multi-leds in student accommodation, if you go around UJ's, Auckland Park, most properties there now are going around 1.9 on average, right? Between 1.6 and 1.9. So which means that on average, you need about 5 properties for you to reach 10 million gross value. So it's not a lot. It's easy to buy 5 properties in a space of 2 years. Very easy. Especially if you've got a good affordability, it's very easy. Then imagine if now you're smart, you're able to use the principle of using other people's money. It's even you can even grow much faster if you want to. So, which means that potentially if anything were to happen to you and your date is been issued that you passed on, potentially you can find yourself owing SARS up to 1.3 million. You could find yourself owing capital gain tax that will be taxed at 18% effective. You could find yourself having to pay legal fees, executors fees, all these things, these costs potentially. And that to me, it's a loss of wealth to me. Imagine if I were to own exactly what that, own all these things in a company, that company, I don't own that company. The company is owned by trust. When I pass on, I've got nothing in my name. I was just a beneficiary. I move on. My kids moves on with benefiting in the trust and your spouse, and then they pass on. The next generation keeps eating and eating and eating. There are trusts that have been founded, guys, in 1800 out there. Right. Yeah. That has been moving from one generation to the next generation. Why can't we do that? Why can't we do that? And you avoid this loss of wealth. To me, this is a loss of wealth when wealth transfer from one generation to the next. That's exactly what I don't like. Hence, I say, but that's for your own decision to make because, like I said at the beginning of the session, to say why people invest in properties is differs. People differ, guys. And I'm not going to dictate how you're going to go about investing, but it's just my personal preference that I don't like this picture that I'm seeing here. And also, I want to have a sense of building a business. I want to have sense of purpose, that thing of saying I'm running a business, I've got partners and employees, start to have caretakers, start to have electrical engineers, in electricians, plumbers, team of marketing people, and especially when you're in the student accommodation, this is a period of marketing. Exactly that's what we're pushing for right now. Students are starting to come. I see my WhatsApp is buzzing where people are looking for accommodations. And so those are that's the type of why I'm investing. I love that. I love that game. It's a game to me. I love playing that game, right? So, but you might be one of those who want to invest in your name. So, what do people do? People then they start thinking and say, listen, Shilipo, maybe I need to find life cover or liquidity cover that will pay for these expenses. There are those things out there. And then people take those covers then so that should they pass on, that life cover can pay bond fees. I mean, it can pay for bond, outstanding bond. It can pay for executors' fees, and it can pay potentially for estate duties and these other taxes like capital gain tax. So people do that, but you obviously then you have to pay those premiums on a monthly basis. Rather than leaving it open-ended, maybe consider that. Maybe, you know, if you want help with that, you can reach out to me and say, Shilipo, guide me what type of cover I need to find, what type of policies I need to find. We can then connect you with our partners and things like that, and we structure it because we better understand, we understand the cost that are involved in this structure. Then we can guide you to say these are the suitable product that we know in the market. Okay. So that is if you want to trade in your name, just be mindful. Okay. This is one of the slides that you can actually typically compare. If someone was to trade in their name, you all know that the disadvantage with this is that, sorry, let me go back. Let's go back. How do I just okay. Okay. So where I was is that these are typically the structures that you, as a first-time property investor, you probably interact with these structures. Now, let's look at this. Individual. You all know that as an individual, you've got limited lifespan. What does it mean? It means you're going to die at some point. So your lifespan is limited. But the company and trust can exist into perpetual. So which means that you and I can leave these things. And this is where, when you start thinking of generational wealth, you start to think of things like that, exactly that. So with the personal liability, that if I were to sue you right now, potentially then you'll lose everything that is in your personal. That is basically that any form of sequestration that happens to you, you lose everything that is in your personal name for whatever reason, divorces and all those things. But then if anything goes wrong in your personal name, you typically don't have your trust assets will potentially be protected, provided that you are running and doing the trust administration with to the T and making sure that things are run as they should be. There's some people do these things, but then they still don't run things properly. Then you'll have a problem. Similar with company. You probably had a concept where say piercing through corporate veil. So things like that. If you don't run and you negligently run things without the law, without or following the right thing, these structures, these benefits here, personal liability thing, limited personal liability will not come handy if you're not doing things the right way. Okay. There are these tax advantages and disadvantages. We spoke about conjugate prior principle area, how it's favorable with trust. Of course, trust has got a high tax rate. That's why it's so important when you've got trust to have someone like us where we're moving your money around, understanding that we can even leverage the lower tax rates from natural person. If you saw earlier, I said you can easily move money from out of trust to the person with lower income, and that person being the one being taxed. So that is exactly how you can take advantage of these lower tax rates here, and while you are investing using trust and companies. You see, so it's a matter of understanding how your money is going to flow, while maintaining the commercial reasons of why you're doing what you need to do. So these are some of the things that you just need to be mindful of. And like I said earlier, the disadvantage with this is this estate duty. I just don't like that, guys. I feel like it's a huge loss of wealth once someone starts being in that position. Okay. And of course, when things are in your name, there's always these family squabbles, guys. I mean, how many of us actually have been in a situation where our families fought over our relatives' assets and things like that? But when things are owned by trust, and then how are you going to fight over these things? Because this person who passed on has no say in these things because they don't own these things. Even the laws, the court will say, but what are you guys fighting for? Because this person died, yes, but was not owning all these things that are in there. It just happened that he was a beneficiary and entitled to benefit from the trust. Therefore, now he's no longer a beneficiary because he passed on. His kids will continue to be beneficiaries, kids of his kids, or the next generation, the next generation. And that's the beauty about all these things. It minimizes the squabbles. So of course, the family squabbles are always going to be there, but at least it minimizes. It kind of put all these firewall on that regard. Okay. As I mentioned, I personally wouldn't trade in my personal name, even if I'm a beginner, but I'll leverage my personal tax benefits in certain assets. So each asset, I'll analyze it to say, what is the purpose of investing in this property? Is it for tax? Is it for me to live off and travel the world? Therefore, I can put it in a trust. If it's for growth and I want to build this company, maybe put all these properties in the company and I only generate dividends. That dividends goes into the trust, and then the trustees can decide and then distribute this to me. Then I can go to Maldives, Seychelles, all these Dubai's and go Singapore on the 31st of December and with the rest of your family members because you did what? You invested in properties. Very easy, guys. Very, very easy to actually invest in properties these days. There's just so much knowledge out there that you can take. So this is how your structure will probably look like. Ignore the family trust at the top. It gets more advanced with that. Let's just assume that you buy this property trust and then it owns this holding company where you can have the different trading company. Let's say the other one is Airbnb, the one is the student accommodation, the other one is multi-let. It depends on what's your investment strategy. People tend to separate all these things. Or for that matter, or you are running your own other businesses. Some people you find that they're in construction or you can't mix construction and your property investment. So that's typically why we arrived at this structure. But for simplicity purposes, you can say, I want to start with a trust and then a company underneath that just to see if I'm good. But it's only if you're serious, guys, and you are going to be a property investor. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. We hopefully answered the question of, yes, we are starting this journey in 2024 of being a property investor. Should I be investing in my personal name or should I invest in a company or should I invest in a trust or a combination of all these three items? You're more than welcome to reach out to us. My WhatsApp number is there. You can email me. The email address is there, shiliboy@tax80.co.za or 0745896439. And then, yeah, before I actually take questions, so yeah, so of course we went fast. But one of the things that that comes with these beautiful things, and I'm gonna take questions, guys. Just bear with me. I'm gonna take questions. I just want to share with you some of the programs that we have that will allow you to if you want to. One of the beautiful things is that we actually go into detail, like, because you can agree with me that the what do you call 20 minutes is not sufficient. Trust on its own is huge. What is the trustee? What are the rights and of beneficiaries? What are the responsibilities of the beneficiaries? What are the responsibilities of the trustees? What is this trust? What are the responsibilities of the founder? How do I comply with SARS? A company on its own, how do I comply with the CIPC? There's so many changes that we've seen recently where the CIPC has changed came up with beneficial owners register for companies. We've seen Masters also coming up with a beneficial register for trust. We've seen SARS also starting to require more information on companies. All these things, they need time for you to know them. You can either know as you go and hope for the best, or you can get new people, experts around you to guide you on the journey, or you can belong to an ecosystem and grow within that. And that's exactly over and above these free sessions. We've got what you call first-time property investor mentorship ecosystem, where we actually go longer. I mean, you're looking at about minimum 2 hours of sessions on a regular basis. We're going to be starting in February. So if you're interested, you'll obviously then send me a WhatsApp and you let me know if you are interested in that session, in those sessions. Of course, this is just a message of welcoming for those guys in the ecosystem of first-time property investor. We say, why is it wealth for most people does not get to the second generation? Guys, do you know that most of the wealth that we are creating, us as the first-time property investors, as an example, majority of us, I think it's over 75% of us are not going to transfer wealth to the next generation. And over and above that, what causes that is the tax and legal side of things. People lose wealth from there. Before I even speak of family squabbles and other things of blowing up the money, lack of financial literacy, tax and legal, you probably have seen it. If someone trades in there, how many people have got wealth in their names? Already 32% of that money or 38% of that money is gone. So that is just tax alone. So imagine then when there start being family squabbles and people fighting over that money, and then the law comes in, there's courts, there's that. Typically, that money doesn't really reach the second generation. What about the third generation? It's even gone. So mainly because people fight over this wealth. Okay. Preserving wealth takes weight while creating tax wisdom, which is true. In so doing, as tax advisors, we play our humble role by ensuring the property investment and financial literacy skills of our clients are polished. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to be having these free sessions on a monthly basis. Next time, on the 20th, we're going to be talking about student accommodation. We'll probably bring experts and, have a panel. We discuss all these industry in detail. In doing so, we update and provide them with tools through access to our personal and various experts training, coaching, and customized individual assessment. Of course, then if you want to be part of, the customized programs, that's when you then move into the mentorship program. That's really up to you what you want to do. But of course, if you are not interested yet on the mentorship program, you can just stick with the free sessions. But yeah, just be mindful that you're not going to get enough. We aim to offer our clients tools and support to easy wealth creation. That's exactly what 2024 to me is about reborn. It's about creating wealth. It's about reborn. Forget everything that we have learned in the past, forget all the mistakes that we've done in the past. Forget what we have accomplished in the past. We're starting afresh. We're creating wealth. We're saying in order to create wealth, we need to belong to an ecosystem that is going to hold our hands and build with us. Above all, we are building an ecosystem of wealth creators. That's what we are. We are wealth creators. And we're starting now. So what is this? So we're going to start with individual assessment, where you send us your case study. Here, you're going to see we grill you. And it's one-on-one session here. And then we're going to go into the detail of investment structures. Now, this is where we start teaching you how to go about strategies, how to do the compliance and all these things. We got detail. It's about 2 hours of intense training for investment structure day. An individual assessment is one-on-one, so it's one-on-one based. It's not group session. It's going to be one-on-one. We're going to have a group session on how to find deals, the strategies on finding deal sourcing and all these things. Running numbers, each investment strategy, multi-desk investment, student accommodation, Airbnb, what's the other one? I said buy-to-let. Yes, buy-to-let. We're going to be running the numbers, teaching you how to go running this. And we're obviously going to give you templates going forward on how to use those templates. Then there's a legal support day. We're talking about property management, offer to purchase, evicting the delinquent. Hey guys, there's delinquent tenants also in this game. So we're going to be supporting on that. It's also about 2-hour sessions. And then you've got finance support day, where we're talking about how do we raise money? Guys, how do we raise money? By the way, we also, if you belong to this ecosystem of mentorship, we've got those, some of you guys, I don't know if you belong to my WhatsApp group. There's a WhatsApp group there. Only if you are part of our mentorship, will help you to raise money and things like that. We'll hold your hand to buy that 1 or 2 first properties. That's what we're going to want to make sure that by the time you leave us, you've bought that one or the first or 2 properties that we want you to achieve. 5 months of coaching. Here you've got 60 minutes on a monthly basis access to me. And then also over and above that of talking to you, you also have access to send me WhatsApps and say, listen, I'm stranded, what's going on? And also I can send you to access to certain people that I've got. If let's say you want a nutrition, I'm able to say, here's a nutrition for these years. And if I don't have those people, it's easy for me to go into my contacts and say, guys, I need this and this person. My mentee wants this and this. You guys have access to those people, and then those people can easily share the number. And then, of course, those people, then you might have find that you have to pay because that is an added services. Let's say you want to fix plumbing matter. I mean, you can't expect me to pay for that for you. Okay, you must pay for those services, but at least you belong to an ecosystem that can solve your issues. You want a lease agreement, I can easily speak to my colleagues who are legal support and listen, can you assist with legal support? And also here, we make sure that you've got a structure before you go into. So we also give you free trust and company here. We make sure that you've got a structure before you actually go into this journey of property investing, okay? So you'll see that, like I said, in individual assessment day, there's an individual case study, and then there's 100 minutes one-on-one session, 120 minutes. We grill you on one-on-one. There's a will consultations. We also look at holistically about your family affairs. By the way, here, it's not about just investing in property, guys. We are trying to understand who you are, because I've seen people come here and go in this journey. I tailor this based on my experience. And then you will have a trust for free. We'll register trust for free for you here. We'll also do what you call financial needs analysis. We in detail understand your gaps, who this person is. And we'll also try to understand how are you planning to raise money? Because one of the things that we picked up is that people get excited and want to be in a property, but they don't have financial plan. They don't even have a plan on how they're going to have an access to finance. So we try to solve exactly that. And we're going to support you because we've got an ecosystem that has been operating for years. So we're going to assist you on that. What's your investment strategy? You might want to be in a property investing, but you're just confused. You don't even know which investment strategy you're going to. Just pick one focus. Pick one focus before until you get it right instead of being all over. Okay? So investment structure day, obviously, then we're going to be talking about trust, company, partnerships. Now we're going to discussing the concept of partnership. That's what we reserved there. SARS, what is required there. One-on-one, 160 minutes of a group session, TechSex. Hey, guys, especially those people who invest in inner cities, we give you the in and outs on how to go about investing in the inner city. And we'll bring some of our colleagues who are financing that space so that you can engage with them. And then, of course, then we have got a deal sourcing. We train you on how to go about finding deals and running numbers. We train you on how to run numbers on that, legal support. Of course, then we discuss the legal side of things. And then we've got 5 months coaching. We're starting in Feb until end of June. So if you're interested, you've got now time to subscribe until end of so that you can participate until end of what is this, until end of June. So we're starting now in February, so it's first time first serve, and then we're good to go. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna allow questions for the next 10 minutes or so. If you've got questions for everything that we've discussed, both the presentation and the mentorship, you're more than welcome to raise your hand, and then I'll recognize you and then allow you to speak. Let's go.